Hey everybody, it's Invalid, and I am tired as hell, but today we're going to be answering some more questions from the responses that you guys had to the Q&A. Got a wonderful breeze blowing on my face from my open window. It's like 9 in the morning. It's been a long time since I've woken up this early. But anyway, we're going to be answering some questions, or at least I'm going to be. So, with that, we can go ahead and start with the first question from continuing off from last time.
Dark Ancient Z yet again. Gaming stuff. Do you play Pokemon? And do you intend to make Pokemon LPs? I play Pokemon off and on. I'm not a Pokemon is definitely not in my Pokemon is definitely not a favorite series of mine. It's kind of one of those things that I picked up because my friends were playing it, and I got into this kind of collector's mentality, gotta catch 'em all kind of thing, and when I realized that I didn't want to do that, I stopped playing it. I didn't really Pokemon was something that I found fun, but I never really got into it like some other people, so eh. I play it once in a while, but I'm not a huge fan of it. As far as making LPs of it are concerned, I don't intend to make Pokemon LPs. First off, because there's plenty of other people that would make it far more interesting than I would, simply because they're really into it and I'm not. And Pokemon games, unless you know exactly what you're doing and how the entire game goes, those Let's Plays take a really, really long time. I mean, there are Let's Plays I know of that are like 100 parts, each of them around 20 to 30 minutes, and they're still going. Pokemon is the Pokemon games and RPGs like that in general tend to be pretty long. And I'm not into Let's Playing games where it has to hold my attention for a really, really long time. I was kind of feeling it at the end of Dead Space 2, and that game's about 20 hours long, I think. And I was starting to feel my attention wanting to go elsewhere, wanting to play another game. My interest was dissipating. And Pokemon, I'd probably get halfway through that game and stop playing because I don't care much for Pokemon to begin with. And playing it and commentating over it for 30 plus hours easily, if not 50 or 60, doesn't appeal to me. So I don't intend to make Pokemon LPs in future. It's not something I'm interested in doing. Unless I was playing with a friend and we were just dicking around and having a good time alongside that. But as far as playing them on my own time, no, I don't. I don't intend to make Pokemon LPs in the future. That may change, but I don't intend to. What kind of advice would you give to someone who wants to start doing LPs? Well, first off, watch Let's Players that you enjoy. That would be my first thing. Watch people that you enjoy who do Let's Plays and see how it feels to you. If it motivates you to want to do them, then that's great. The second thing I would do is stay away from those videos for a while after you've felt the motivation. And then ask yourself the same question. Do you want to do Let's Plays? What does your gut tell you? If you still have that, yes, I want to do Let's Plays, then you can move on to the next one, to the next step. If you kind of get this, I don't really know, I mean, it seems kind of fun, but I don't really know, then try it. If it doesn't work, then okay, not a big deal. And if it's a no, then, end of story. But then ask yourself, what are your motivations for doing LPs? If you want to do it because you think it would be fun, or you want to just show off your experiences and share those, and have a community, big or small doesn't really matter, then that's great. If you have a perspective on certain games that you want to share, that's great. Go ahead. If you are thinking about money, if you are thinking about becoming YouTube famous, don't do it. Those are two of the worst reasons to start doing LPs. If it is those motivators alone, don't do it. Because there are much easier ways to make money, i.e. jobs. I mean, my channel's been up for 7 years now? Going on 7 years? And we're almost at 2,000 subscribers? Financially speaking, YouTube does not give you much. The money you make off of ads is pretty pathetic. I think in total I'm making like $7 a month. I mean, that's $7 a month that I wouldn't have otherwise, but that's only $7. You know, whereas I could take an afternoon or 2 afternoons, weed out somebody's yard, and easily make 60 in an afternoon. You see what I'm getting at here? Money is not a good motivator if you want to do Let's Plays. Don't bother. If you're doing Let's Plays, it's not for the money. If you want to get famous, again, there are other ways to do it. And if you're trying to get famous, why? I'm really wondering about that one. Just ask yourself why and see where that question trail takes you. But if you want to do the Let's Plays, to have fun, to enjoy, to share your experiences, to share your perspective on things, then the next thing I would suggest doing is, what do you want to Let's Play? What system are they going to be on? Are they going to be only on computers? Are they only going to be on Xbox 360? Are they only going to be on PlayStation 1? Are they only going to be on Nintendo 64? Are they only going to be on Wii, etc., etc., etc.? What system are they going to be on? Because depending on what system you're playing your games on, you're going to need different ways to record them. So in making a Let's Play, there are certain things you are wanting to think about. What's your focus? If you just want to play games, that's great. In which case you work with what you have. If you want to focus on older games, Myst, DOS games, like Lemmings or something like that, you're probably going to want either really good emulators or hardware that can actually run the game natively. Are you going to be wanting to run... Do you want to play PS3 games or stuff like that? Every single system is going to require a different way of recording your games. And every single game is going to require a slightly different setup of that way of recording. For instance, a game like BioShock, I can easily record with programs like MSI Afterburner and Bandicam or Fraps. All I have to do is have my recording software up, start the game, and hit record, and we're good to go. With Flash games and stuff like that, it can get a little messy, depending on whether it's OpenGL or whatever. You really get to know some technicals when you're trying to do a Let's Play properly. So there's that. And depending on what games you want to play, you know, older games are typically going to require either emulators or older hardware that will be compatible with those games. Windows 2000 games that are in 16-bit are not going to run very well on a system that's Windows 7 64-bit. You can have all the processing power in the world, but you're not going to be able to run that little 8-bit game. Simply because it's not compatible. Vice versa, if you have Windows XP with 2 gigabytes of RAM, a dual-core processor that's running at 2 gigahertz per core, and a little integrated graphics card like a 3600 or whatever the heck, you're not going to be able to play Crysis at max settings. If you can run Crysis at all, it's just not going to happen. So you need to have hardware that you can use to play the games you want to play. Kind of a duh, but it's good to know. It's good to cover because not everybody thinks about that. And be aware that unless you're using hardware to record your game, and by hardware I mean a separate recording block that is taking your input, taking your video and audio from your whatever you're playing the game on to the monitor. If you are using software instead of that, then you are going to want a computer that is a bit more capable than what can run the game at max settings, if you're looking for quality in your videos. Newer software like Bandicam and DxTory tend to have a smaller impact on your games and stuff like that, but you really need to be aware of that. So this is like I'm getting into this and I'm realizing how much there is actually to Let's Playing. There's a lot to it. But it's things that I think Let's Players getting into it need to be aware of. Because you can't necessarily just pick any game you want to play, stick it in your computer or your console, and press a button and you're good to go. You need to have a setup for it. So my big recommendation is be aware of what you need to record your game on whatever platform you're playing your game on. So typically with console, unless you're on Xbox One or PS4, you need an external hardware setup to record your game. If you're on computer, then you can get around that. You can use a hardware setup for that as well, but you can also use software to record your games. But in order to do that, you'll need a slightly more powerful computer than what you would need just to play the game. Another option that you have, another thing that typically happens in Let's Plays is commentary. Voiceovers, like me talking right now. You'd need a way to record your voice. And very typically, what people tend to do when they're starting off is grab whatever headset or whatever microphone they have on hand, start talking into it and recording that while they're playing the game. And sometimes that's just using their phone or using whatever. In my day, when I started, I borrowed my mom's headset because she worked at a computer company. Actually, it was mainframe. It's slightly different, but she was tech support. She had microphones and headsets, and I borrowed one. And I found out that I couldn't record my audio at the same time I was recording my game separately. I had to record them at the same time, and if I tried doing that, that didn't work out because I would end up with desync because my computer wasn't very good. So what I ended up doing was I had a laptop and I had a computer, and I recorded my voice on the laptop and I recorded the game on the computer. So there's stuff you can do. Whatever you can do to start out is good. If you could start out with a gaming rig that's Windows 8 or Windows 10 or Windows 7 or whatever, and it can run any game, even the newest Doom game at max settings, 1080, 4K even, and it has no problem, and you're just chugging along, and you're getting that at full quality recording and all that stuff, and you got the best mic that you have, then that's great. That is absolutely fine. From there, once you have your recording set up, I highly recommend first that you mess around with your recording setup, do a couple test recordings, play them back, and see how they sound to you. Once you have your recording set up, Then you can move on to actually producing videos. And producing videos, you can either upload the raw footage, depending on what recording system you're using, though I don't recommend that. Because you can end up with file sizes on recording software that are, especially if you're using Fraps, those files can end up to 50 plus gigs for maybe 20 minutes. It can easily eat up hard drive space. And that is directly going to impact your upload time for videos. That will directly impact your upload time on videos. Because even if you have some of the fastest internet in the world, unless you work at YouTube, you're probably not going to get more than a certain bandwidth for uploading stuff. Their bandwidth is pretty high, but the bigger the file size, the longer it's going to take to upload, is basically how it works. So what you tend to want to do is either, if you can set up your recording so that it starts off with raw footage that's really small and has a small impact on storage space, that's perfect. Then that's great. You can set up everything as is, check that the video recorded properly, and then done. What I do, however, is I have an entire editing program. So if there's parts that I really didn't enjoy, I can just crop them out. If there's parts that I wanted to add in, like there's maybe I say something really stupid and it's like I know in post recording before I upload that this was a mistake to say that and it's wrong, then I can add in a little piece of text saying, hey, I know this is wrong, this is what's true. And I highly recommend doing that. There are several free video editing programs out there that are simple. Windows has Windows Movie Maker and stuff like that. I don't know about Mac and Linux. I think Apple comes with free stuff like that. I'm not sure. And from what I understand, the Apple software is a lot more in-depth than what Windows provides right off the bat. And as far if you're doing editing, if you're just doing plain Let's Play videos, you know, here's what I recorded, here's my commentary, we're done, then you don't have to worry about this. But if you want to do some editing, and you want to make some extra little fancy things and goof around and some more serious edits and crops and jumps and whatnot, then you will definitely want to get yourself some editing software. And when you do that, you will want to learn the ins and outs of editing. The best way to do that, of course, is by trial and error. And just mess around and experiment. Just see what happens. And maybe you upload those videos, maybe you don't. Really what you want to do once you are able to get yourself off the ground with Let's Playing is experiment and see what works. What feels good to you, what gives you good feedback. And finding a middle ground between the two. And while you're Let's Playing, well, that's something that I can talk about with people who are currently Let's Playing, but something that a lot of Let's Players, myself included, run into after they've been doing it for a while, and that whole kind of, oh my god, I'm Let's Playing vibe wears off. Check in with yourself again. What's your motivation for doing Let's Plays? Are you still enjoying what you're doing? If so, that's great. Keep going. If you're finding that you're starting to lose energy and motivation to do it, why? Why is this suddenly no longer appealing? Do you need to stop because it's not actually what you want to do? Or is it just your motivation is still there, but your motivation for actually making the videos isn't there anymore? And if that comes up, and you still want to do Let's Plays, but you're not feeling it, how do you bring that back? And that is a topic for another time. So that was another 10-minute ramble. Ugh. Next question. What do you think about the perks of having a small community? I.e., if you have millions of subscribers, a ton of comments, emails, subscribers, etc. What do you think about the perks of having a small community? One of my biggest things that I love about having a smaller YouTube community is the fact that I can communicate with every single person. Every single comment that comes down, I'm going to see it, and I have the choice to reply. And I have time to reply because I'm not being flooded with comments. You get to make connections with people. Not quite in the same way that you would if you're out networking at a party or something like that, or going to a school and making connections that way. But one of the things is the connections with each individual member of that community. And I mean, the next question that I have on this list is directly tied with this. Not only do I get to reply to every single comment because I have the time and having few enough people that I can see every single comment and reply to every single comment if I so choose, but I can also make the connection with every single person. And in doing so, I can end up doing some really cool stuff with each individual person. And plus, on top of all of that, I have it set up personally so that every single time I get a notification on YouTube, it shows up in my email. It is so nice to see 10 emails from YouTube comments and go through each one of them. It's like, okay, there's that. Well, let's check out what they said. Okay, that's worth replying to. Let's go ahead and reply. This is what I think about this, blah, 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 blah. Hit enter. Let's go to the next comment that's showed up in my inbox. And I'm done in 5 minutes. Versus whereas if I had a channel with probably, let's go with 2 million subscribers, and every seventh person is commenting, that's still a several 100,000 comments that I would be getting every day. Maybe not that many, but you get the idea. I would instead of looking through each comment and being like, okay, this is what they think about that, I'll reply to it. I just see so many comments that it's like, okay, select, delete, check one, delete, select, delete, and so on. There's no disconnect between me and the community because there's just like so many people. Which is awesome. I love that. And I'm sure if I got bigger, I could work out ways to where that wouldn't be a problem. It seems like from other Let's Players that I've talked to, 20,000 is kind of like that magic number where the community is fairly large, but you can still communicate with everybody and have those connections, which is awesome. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the whole small community thing. Deep Down Trauma Hound asks, would you be interested in doing something collaborative with me? Well, yes, I would love doing something collaborative with you. That'd be awesome. So I will get in touch with you about that. Okay, so this is the second set of questions that we've had, that I've answered. Got a few more actually to go, including some that have been asked after the original set of questions were on the video. So, yeah, looking forward to those, and a final clump of random timing and whatnot, so that's going to be good. But yeah, if you haven't already, there is a set of questions before this video that I answered previously. There was an annotation to it at the beginning of the video, so whatever. But yeah. So it's been a joy reading these questions and answering them, guys. So if you have any more,
feel free to ask them again. So, yeah. See you in the next set of videos, guys. And until then, I hope you all have a wonderful day and take care. Bye for now.